What is going on, Cup Bangers? Today is April the 9th, 2016. I'm Alejandro, and let's go for a drive. Yo, hit it, Pedro. All right, before we start today's episode, let me just say and establish the rules of the world we live in today. Number one, it's a very fast evolving world. What does that mean? Everything changes really fast. I think I'll explain that. Number two, reality is, even though you're an adult, life is just like high school. That means your teachers are your bosses, if you want to look at it that way. They tell you what to do. They set up timelines and everything, and if you fail, you fail. If you're not able to deliver your homework, or if you're not able to deliver at work, it's kind of like the same thing. You eventually will be waved out. So that's number two. And number three, no one knows what they want to do with their lives. I'm 31 years old. I have no idea what's going to happen next year. I have no clue how I'm going to make more money here, more money there, less money here. I don't know what my profession is. When people ask me, what do you do for a living? I do a ton of things. I do whatever I can. So don't stress about, oh my God, high school's over. I need to jump into college. What should I study? What do I do? Relax. You're always finding out that you never know what you're doing. So just take that, enjoy the trip, because I love not knowing what's going to happen next year. My life changes constantly every single year. I like it. Some people see it as a negative, but then there's a solution for that, right? So now that the rules are set, let's talk about this. I wanted to talk to you guys about, is going to college the right thing for me to be successful? And I'm only going to talk to you guys about financially successful, not anything else. Forget about self-accomplished and all that shit. We're going to talk numbers right now. We're going to talk money. So before answering that question, let me just say that there are three major things that I don't think a lot of people understand. And knowing that, it's a huge advantage on your end for when making the decision, if it's good or not. So number one, humans, men, women, do not equal X. Unless X, it's undetermined. What does that mean? There's no way that the rules, the way the world functions today, is the right way it should work. Back in the day, they made strict laws and everything because not everyone understood, not everyone had the same amount of knowledge that we have today. I hate saying knowledge, you know why, but it's a reality. So not everyone thinks the same way, not everyone feels the same way, not everyone can relate to the same things. That makes for us, our individuals, to be a very complex thing that exists in the universe, because our brain can do so many different things and we're made in so many different ways. So there's that. That's a very important thing to know. I'm going to give you a very good example, and this is why I don't vote. I don't care about politics, because I don't think anyone that's voting is doing it right. Number one, because no one's informed. And number two, having political parties might be the most backwards ass thing in the world. There's no way this one person is going to go and say, all right, I'm a Republican because, I love guns, I hate gays, and in general, you know what I'm saying. Or I'm a Democrat, everyone should fuck each other, free money for all the poor. That's not right, okay? We cannot define our candidates, for example, just by their political party. This is a completely bad way of viewing the world. It should be for what you stand for as a person, not for what supporters you want to pull into your fucking whatever campaign you're running. Not every single human is the same. We all feel different things. We all like different things. We're all attracted to different things, and we're all very different. It's just now with technology and everything that we're seeing around the world, more people are becoming themselves. Don't try to be like others. Don't be pressured by, little Johnny's going to college, so maybe I should go to college, because that doesn't apply to you. What's good for little Johnny is not good for you, little Juan, or whatever your name is here. Numero dos. Your parents lived in a completely different world than the one you're living in today. I cannot stress how fast this world is moving and evolving and changing. I'm going to give you a very big example of something that not a lot of people think about. A lot of people are saying that the gap between the rich and the poor is getting huge, and it's because of all these laws and all these taxes. This is just uninformed people, okay? The reason why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer is simple. I mean, it's more than simple, but it's a very good example for this. In this world, the pace that we live in today, that a fortune can be built, cannot be matched by what our parents' generations or grandparents' generations used to do. A very good example of that is this very simple one. McDonald's, who's been a company that we all know, we're all familiar. You probably had a burger or a shake, and if you're a vegan, fuck you. No, I'm just totally kidding with you guys. So those guys have been in business for around 60 to 70 years, right? You know how much money they're worth? About $120 billion. Now, Facebook was just created 11 years ago, and they're worth about $320 billion, give or take. Do you understand now my point, right? Like, it's not like before where our parents used to go and open up, someone would tell them, hey, John, your bread is fantastic. Maybe you should open a bakery. And then John opens the bakery, and then he realizes that he's killing it, opens a second location, third location, he starts expanding. That'll take John a couple years, if not 10, 20 years to get to that very, very successful point. Whereas now, Instagram, all of those guys, they work for 5 years. And before you know it, they're worth a couple $1 billion. Just like that. WhatsApp sold for $19 billion altogether. Don't correct me. WhatsApp sold for $19 billion and they only had 50 employees. That was unachievable in the past. The poor are getting poorer because the rich are getting smarter. And this is another thing. You have to accept the reality of the world. The reality of human nature. People that live in denial and keep trying to change this are stupid, are wasting their entire life and energy on something that cannot be done. So no one's going to give you free money. Rich people want to be richer because that's everyone's instincts, however you like it. Hedge funds, that's the way they work. Investment companies, everything. They want to make more money. So the reality is and this is why it's contradictory, when people that make less money vote, they'll vote for someone that is saying, let's tax the rich more. Fuck those guys. Minimum wage is going to go up like this. You're going to make $15 an hour, $20 an hour. Well, rich people want to make more money. So the reality is they're going to walk away from your country, go to one that's giving them basically everything they want because these huge companies will get it. The other one is because you're putting that job to be so well paid. And on top of that, add insurance, add healthcare, add everything. It's better to just build a robot, right? So why the fuck is anyone gonna stick to that? So yeah, people are losing more money, and the only way to battle that is just looking ahead. Don't be short-sighted. Make sure that you have a pretty good vision of the future and what's coming next. A very good example would be the way the world is evolving right now. We're just talking about robots. If you get into robotics, I guarantee you there's gonna be a job. I guarantee you there's gonna be a lot of pay. But if you get into, I wanna be a lawyer, then you're capped. Even lawyers today are capped at how much money they can make compared to someone that jumps into something smart like software development, robotics, space research. Honestly, anything, any single one of those hot fields that you can see that in the future 20, 30 years are gonna be huge, that's what you wanna get into. You don't wanna go and become a store owner. You don't wanna go and become the regular stuff, at least if you wanna make a lot of money. And 3, know yourself. Very important that you know yourself. You need to know what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not. And you just learn that with time. There's no way of skipping that. You're going to learn more and more about yourself as you go. But right now, if you start paying attention to everything you do, you'll realize, even just now by sitting here saying, I do like to spend time doing car stuff. Okay, so maybe I don't need to get that much money, right, in the future. And if I don't, and I like cars, I like to take pictures of them, I'm going to take pictures of cars on the weekends while I work so that I can do that on the weekends and not stress about money and just have a comfortable life. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you know that that's who you are. Maybe you're very good at organizing stuff. Then start getting into stuff that helps organize others. You know what I mean? I know it sounds very, very dumb, but this is one of the biggest struggles that we all have. Knowing yourself, asking yourself the questions. What is it that I like? What is it that I don't like? What am I willing to sacrifice? What am I not willing to sacrifice for my life? What do I want out of my life? And we talked about it. The answer should always be happiness for the most part. So those are very, very important things to know. Now, let's jump into actual stats, because this is where it starts getting really, really scary. And I'm just going to talk about the United States right now, because everywhere else in the world, the system is completely different. But in the United States, it's completely fucked up because education has been privatized and everyone's making a buck out of basically everyone, because the United States became a first world. So now every single thing has to make money, right? They realize that freedom and all of that stuff is good. Now we're about to realize that, maybe not freedom in medical spaces and education spaces, and privatizing those businesses is good. That'll be in the future. But right now, let's talk about these greedy motherfuckers and their stats. Do you know, this hurts me so much. The average college is gonna cost $20,000 to $30,000 a year. That's that. Number 2, the government and now private companies can provide you with student loans so you can afford going to college. Well, that looks incredible. The average student comes out of school with a massive debt of $35,000. Now split that $35,000 average debt that everyone has, right? And add the average 3% that they charge a year premium on that money. So when you get out of college, by the time you're, what, 22, I think? In Mexico it's different. I never went to college. By the time you're 22, you're going to get out of college and you're going to start looking for jobs. Hopefully by then you already had a minimum wage job so that you know and have some experience in the real world. But let's pretend that you don't and you're going to start at the very, very bottom. So that means $15,000 a year. $15,000 a year. Let's pretend that you get a raise every year, and in 4 years you get a job that pays you $50,000 a year. That means you would have to pay that loan, if my math is not that completely fucked up, and I'm sorry I'm doing this while I'm driving. That means it's going to take you about 8.5 years to pay off your entire loan, because that's going to amount to almost 20% on the $35,000 that your debt is after 8 years. So that's another $10,000, give or take. So for you to pay those $45,000, you're going to have to wait 8 years and basically paying $10,000 a year once you start making $50,000 a year before taxes, not even after taxes. So that's a big responsibility you're about to fucking commit to. That's a big loan. And let me tell you this, student loans are the most enforceable debt in the world. You can declare bankruptcy. You can, pray to God, anything you want. The government will enforce them and you will always have that debt. That means if you get a job in the future, they're going to take some of your wages. If you're not getting a job, they're always going to be bothering you collecting that money, and they're going to embarrass you as many times as they can so that you can pay that debt. That is a horrendous thing to get into if you're not planning on making a lot of money, right? So now that you hear the harsh reality and how horrible and fucked up it is to afford to go to college, you have to ask yourself the following questions, because in summary, should you go to college in order to be very successful and wealthy? And the reality is, in this fast-paced world, in my own honest opinion, and I'm not right, is no. Unless you want to go to college for a very specific reason, a very specific field where you're going to learn a lot and you need that information quick. But even then, I think you can do everything just with experience. I myself, I'm self-taught with everything. I hung out with a bunch of people that knew how to do everything and all the things that I do now. And that's how I learned. I didn't have any debt afterwards. I started working before everyone else, so I started making more money before my friends, and I established myself way before my friends. Don't mean to sound like an asshole, because they went to college. Some of them did an MBA and a master's and all the bells and whistles. By the time they came out of school, they're trying to figure out their life, and you don't want to be doing that later in life, and especially when you're living in such a fast-paced world. My advice to you after all of this spiel and what I just said is always look ahead. Always make a 20-year plan, 30-year plan. Look at what's coming. Look at the stats. What's disappearing? What's growing more interest from people, from job fields. That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Lay off me, I'm starving.
If I want to get a job with security that's going to give me money and all that stuff, just get to work. Because if you're saying all I need is the money no matter how I get it, go get any job with experience. And if you do things right, I promise you, not everyone, and by not everyone I mean probably 90% of people, just don't deliver on their job. Their job, the shit they do every day, they suck at. Have you ever wondered when you go to a store and you go, wow, how is that cashier so bad? How is that cab driver so bad? Just being good at your job and being able to deliver will separate you from everyone else. I just want you to make the right decision. So planning ahead, always make your budget, see how much money you're going to come out of, and be real about how much money you're going to be making in the first 5 years. Because for me is, when I'm hiring someone to do a job for me, I don't look at what school they went to. I look at their behavior. I look at how much experience they have in the field already. And if it's a very basic job, I just want someone that's reliable and that can do basic stuff. I'm not going to look into their educations or anything. As long as you're an honest person that can get stuff done, you're pretty much hired in my book. Anyway, guys, I'm going to make an illegal U-turn right now, and I hope this helps you in any way, shape, or form. What do you guys think? What's your view after watching this video? Is it still the same? Did anything come up that you were like, oh shit, that's going to help me? Or not really? This was just something you already knew and you're applying it to your life. I'm very interested to know. Thank you so much for coming with me in this drive in Arizona. Beautiful, beautiful Arizona. I hope I can get back to my hotel. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good one. Take care.